Tonight, Fab at 40, one of the most influential albums of all time, celebrates a major milestone.
We're talking about the Beatles' Sgt. Pepper's album, and CBS News' Stacey Butler is live as Beatlemania is rekindled, even for just a short time. Stace?
Laura, that's right. 1967, the summer of love. It was also the same summer that the Beatles cemented their status as a cultural icon. They released Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. It seemed to capture the mood of that year. And today, 40 years later, the generation who knew them when remembers.
I heard the news today, oh boy, about a lonely man who made the grade. Isn't that it?
Woke up, fell out of bed, dragged a comb across my head, made my way upstairs and had a cup.
Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Heart Club Band.
Do you know the rest?
No. She's too young.
Too young. If these are fans, then this is a fanatic.
I had my first Beatle record when I was 7.
Chris Carter collects everything Fab Four. He even has his own Beatles radio show. Few know Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band like he does.
Everybody was listening to it, you know, no matter where you went, if it was in Laurel Canyon or, you know, Swing in London, Sgt. Pepper was on the turntable. It was an album that came during a plateau in the Beatles' career. Then, in 1967, it set the standard for decades to come. The art of making records was the blueprint for it. After that, all these great records came out, you know, to try to compete with the Beatles in the studio. Now, 40 years later,
are you still a Beatles fan?
Sure, aren't we all?
From generation,
I think they're still very much alive.
I think I got old.
to generation. Do you know who the Beatles are?
Yes.
What's your favorite song? The Beatles are still a household name, even if among the younger set, their songs aren't.
Paul McCartney was married to the girl in Dancing with the Stars.
There's still every week new Beatle news, you know, whether it's Paul and Heather or Ringo did this or they're going to re-release this.
Still making headlines. Tomorrow, Paul McCartney releases his new album, and a new recording of the Sgt. Pepper's album featuring current artists is set to be released soon. We're live in Sherman Oaks. Stacey Butler, CBS 2 News.
Best band of all time, hands down.
But some of those interviews were depressing.
Yeah. Well, when Dancing with the Stars is the peg for the Beatles.
Yeah. Rolling Stone magazine said something interesting about that album, and that is that that album taught everybody that rock and roll was rock and roll, even if you couldn't dance to it.
See?
Yeah.
And it was on the, speaking of Rolling Stone, it was on their list of 500 greatest albums, #1.
Right.
Great album.
Lots of Beatle trivia here today.
Yeah, we'll sing a little bit for you, too.
What about the weather?
Who cares about the weather? Let's talk Beatles.
Yeah.